love it if we beat them. Love it. Well, we're heading for a penalty shootout. Naeem. Or are we? Can you believe what you've seen?
Hello everyone, welcome to the very first episode of It's Still a Funny Old Game. I'm your host, Mark Lancaster. A quarter of a century ago, a new era of English football began, and at the time there were probably only a few things that were different about the newly introduced Premier League. More TV cameras started to show up at games, referees started wearing colours other than black, and the new back pass rule had goalkeepers scrambling at the sight of a football. But today, the game is barely recognisable after 25 years of hype, money and transfer mayhem. And the key to everything that has changed has been the Premier League's ever-tightening control over the media landscape. Nothing illustrates the Premier League's control than the latest TV rights auction that took place not too long ago. £5.1 billion was raised between the two big players, Sky and BT Sport. And while a lot of this money has had some positive impacts for the clubs and certainly for the players, a lot of this money has led to a lot of fans and supporters getting alienated from the game. And the idea of football being the working man's game is pretty much long gone. It's one of the reasons we've created this podcast. We'd like to give the game a big reminder that with all this hype and money, the powers that be can't and shouldn't control everything in football. There are still some unexpected things that happen every week, and on this podcast we'll go into things like astonishing refereeing decisions, sendings off, unexpected scorelines, and just to remind people that football is still a funny old game. So let's dive into this week's topic, and I sincerely hope you'll enjoy listening to the show. Some weeks ago I sat down to watch the Brighton vs Chelsea game on Sky. And there was an incident in that game that caught my attention. The Brighton fullback Charlotto was through on goal, and he went down under a challenge from the City goalkeeper. Now in this particular incident, the referee chose not to give a penalty. But when I listened to the post-match analysis, the general consensus amongst the pundits on that game seemed to be that because there was contact in the incident, a penalty should have been given. Fast forwarding a few weeks to Liverpool's 2-2 draw with Tottenham at Anfield, there was yet another incident that was similar in that game, but this time it was Harry Kane through on goal, and then under a challenge from the goalkeeper he goes to the floor. On this particular occasion, the referee deemed this to be a penalty, and once again in the post-match analysis, the pundits seemed to be of the opinion that because there was contact in the incident, the referee was correct and the penalty was the right decision. Now I look at both of these examples and I ask myself, is there anywhere near enough recklessness or excessive force to justify the way the player has gone to the floor? In both cases, just in my opinion, the answer is a resounding no, so for me, neither one of these challenges is a penalty. I have no doubt if I have any Brighton or Spurs fans listening to this podcast at the moment, they're probably yelling at me right now through the blue and white tinted specs, saying I don't know what I'm talking about and I don't have a clue. But, oh wait, hang on a minute Mark, there was contact. But I'd like to ask the question, at what point in football did every contact become a foul? Just to put a bit of meat on the point that I'm trying to make here, let's actually consider the laws of the game. It actually does say that a referee can consider whether contact was careless, reckless or excessively forceful when deciding to give a free kick or a penalty. Now that's not me putting all the responsibility of this shifting culture in football at the door of referees. I listened with great interest to the comments of ex-Arsenal striker Alan Smith following the Brighton and Chelsea game, and his thoughts were that because there was contact, a penalty should have been given in the incident in that game. Now here's a guy who played the game when it was a lot more physical than it is now, which demonstrates how deep-rooted this idea has become that contact between players is automatically a foul. And he's not the only one. I hear similar arguments from other ex-professionals, pundits and managers every week on similar challenges. I'm going to put a video of both penalty incidents that I've referred to today on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and I'd love to get the thoughts of our listeners on this. Do you think these were penalties? Do you not think these were penalties? What are your thoughts on the topic we've discussed here today in general? As spectators, are we happy with how this type of challenge in football is being viewed these days? I'd really love to get the thoughts and comments of supporters up and down the country. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but please guys, let's keep the comments clean. And that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for listening. Please tune in next time when the topic will be VAR and the question of, will it take all the fun out of football? Have a great day everybody, and I hope to see you next time.